Okay, in the next couple of videos, I want to discuss verb phrases. And it will take me a couple of videos because verb phrases are very powerful. They can express some very subtle shades of meaning, but it also makes them rather complex to put together. Okay, they can be very simple or they can be very complex. But it's going to take us a couple of videos to cover them. And even then, this is an introduction. This is kind of a cursory summary of the lay of the land when it comes to verb phrases. Okay, now, for all of that, the definition is actually pretty easy. One or more words that function as a verb. Okay? And so if a verb is a word that denotes action or state of being, state, then a verb phrase is one or more words that denote action or state. Okay? And as with other phrases, verb phrases have a head, which is the focus of the phrase. Okay, and not surprisingly, it is always a verb. Okay, so I want to spend the next two videos talking about the characteristics of verb phrases. Okay. Unlike other phrases, verb phrases actually have some very well defined characteristics. And the first one we're going to talk about is tensed or non-tensed. Okay. And a verb phrase that is tensed has one verb in it, which is tensed. And tensed means tensed varies for past or present. Okay. Also, number, I'll put a dash there. Also, number and person. Okay. So a verb that is tensed has a past or present, singular, plural, first, second, or third person. So Sheila, we've got a third person singular, so Sheila bakes. Okay, so that's a tensed verb form. So the past, and you'll see the grid, first person singular, second person singular, so on. And it will match a noun phrase, usually the subject, but not always. But the noun phrase that is tensed will have some noun somewhere noun or pronoun, some noun phrase that it will agree with. Now the non-tensed forms are the base form, the infinitive, which is to plus the base form, the ing form, the present participle, and the ed, or the past participle. So baking is a non-tensed form. To bake is a non-tensed form. Okay, and depending on what kind of a clause you're putting together, you may need a tensed form, you may need a non-tensed form. Okay, so let's move that up out of the way again. Another very common characteristic is aspect. Okay, and a lot of people talk about two aspects, but I actually like to describe them as four. The simple aspect, which is basically none. Okay, so we'll go back up. We'll go back up here, and we'll say Sheila bakes. And then we have the progressive. And I'm not going to describe how we do this right now. We'll save that for later. So the progressive describes continuous action. Continuous action. So let's go back. Sheila is baking. Okay, and then we have the perfect aspect, which is completed action. So we have Sheila has baked. Okay, and then give myself some more room. We can use both of them. And when we use both of them, they always go in this order. Perfect, progressive. Okay? There is no such thing as a progressive perfect in English. So, this is, I guess I should go ahead and write it down, but it is completed continuous action, which meant that it was continuous action, but it's now done. So, quick example, Sheila, use the verb phrase, has been baking. Okay? So those are the three four aspects. Simple, which is really none. Okay, progressive, which is continuous, is baking. Perfect, which is completed, has baked. And perfect progressive, which is the combination of the two. Sheila has been baking. Okay, so I want to do one more in this video, and that is voice. Okay, and there's only two voices. There's the active, and in the active voice, the subject is acting. Oh, the subject is acting. Okay, so let's show an example here. And this is far and away the most common one. Sheila. We'll use the past tense. Sheila baked cookies. Okay? And the other option is the passive. And this is where the subject is being acted upon. Okay, so in the first one we had Sheila was the one doing the baking, so she was acting, and then cookies, as the in this case the direct object, was receiving that action. Okay, in the passive, cookies moves up front, and have been baked. Okay? And the legitimate reasons for using the passive is either you don't know or you don't care who performed the action. You're just concerned that the action has been performed by somebody. Okay, and those are perfectly legitimate reasons for using the passive voice. The passive voice sometimes gets a bad rap because the other use you can use it for is to hide the actor, hide the person doing the action. Okay, and use a lot of bureaucratic organizations love the passive voice because it kind of hides who's actually doing what, and that hiding use of the passive gets it a bad rap. But again, if you legitimately don't know or don't care who performed the action, then the passive voice is perfectly fine. Okay. With that, I'm up to about 11 minutes. I'm going to stop here. We covered tensed or non-tensed. We covered aspect. And we covered voice. And so I'm going to stop here and come back, and we're going to talk about 2 more characteristics in the next video.